After the flesh has been cut off, God will begin doing things in your life that seem unnatural, a bit ridiculous to the flesh. And these things will start welling up in you, the fruits of the Spirit, like love, joy, peace, but also maybe this laughter where it seems so ridiculous. But in this verse here of the parable of the leaven, we may react like Mary, where even though we know it's unnatural, she keeps these things and she ponders them in her heart. So the concept today is she hid the laughter. And this verse of Yehoshua is probably pointing us back to today's portion of Sarah when she hid her laughter. She was told to make 3 cakes, but it never says that these angels ate them or these men ate them. This parable says the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven. Okay, so normally, like the entire week of Pentecost, you're supposed to eat unleavened bread. It's representing getting rid of the flesh, anything that rises up against the knowledge of God. So we first need to get our flesh out of the way. And Abraham circumcising himself is a picture of cutting off the flesh. So on that night of Passover, Messiah, the flesh, is cut off. And this could have been Friday night because the day begins, if it was on it was on the night before the Sabbath. And then it could have been this night that he's dead, and this night, and then this morning. So it's total of 3 days. Where the day after the Sabbath, which would be the Passover, the first fruit is presented, and that is unleavened. And then 50 days later, there's 2 leavened. So that's a total of 3 loaves, which can help explain why this is 3 measures of meal. It's 1 amount of leaven. So what Sarah hides is her laughter, which is her son, Yitzhak, laughter. First, Abram, God comes to Abram first, and Abram is cutting off his flesh. And then he also goes through the symbolic act of every male in the household cutting off their flesh. But first, this laughter appears in Abram. So it's like Messiah, or this process of the kingdom of heaven here on earth, this godly soul within being realized within the body. That's heaven on earth. The kingdom of heaven has come to you. That's all the fullness that is in Messiah being offered to us for us to identify as he is identifying, as coming from above primarily. So this is what is rising up now. First in Abram, this new life. It's not like where you have to keep refreshing yourself, but this is springing up. So this word means to leap, like bubbling up, similar to maybe leaven. So there is this, after we have removed the flesh and everything that has exalted itself against God, there is one mountain that stands, and that's like the holy temple, where we are this tabernacle, this temple for God to dwell in. So I want to show you how with Pentecost, it's leavened bread and it's 2 loaves. And then with the first fruits, it's 1 loaf. And for the first fruits, they also did have, the 2 things that priests actually ate from sacrifices. Some things were burned up completely, but peace offerings they ate a portion of, which was the breast and right leg of a calf. And for the sin offering or a guilt offering, they will eat, I think, other parts of it as well. The other ones are burned up completely, so that could be significant for our portion today. Here is the context before we get into chapter 18. All the men of Abram's house have just cut off their flesh. And this could represent the first holiday of Passover, when the sacrifice is cut off. It causes the sacrifice to cease with Messiah in the midst of the week that Daniel talks about. Something else that we know, for a clue of the time of the year where this could be talking about Passover, the flesh being cut off, is Yudhe has just said to Abram, at this time next year, I will return to you and Sarah will have a son. So if you include like her beginning her time, then there only can be about 2 months at the most between this appearance of Hashem and the next, where he's just reiterating what he's already said, except this time Sarah is receiving this laughter. So if she's going to have a son at this time next year, and then Abram circumcises everybody, it could be that 3 days later, this verse is taking place, meaning that it's the time of firstfruits, and Abram is going to be very sore at this time, like that drop of blood has been shed. And even when somebody is converting to become a Jew, they have to get circumcised. But even if like they already were circumcised before then, the practice is to just give a little prick and there's a drop of blood. So there is this idea of shedding of blood also that goes with the circumcision. And that's even like a door to the tent as well. The weekly portion, Vayeira, or Vayeira, is and he was seen. This is in the passive, the nifil. And he was seen. So that's going to be a theme for this week. And he was seen to him, and often the verb comes first. So who was seen? Hashem. Yud, He, Waw, He. In the plains of Mamre, and he was sitting. So who was sitting? The door of the tent. And how was the door of the tent sitting? Like the heat of the day. So sitting could also mean judging. That this is a time of judgment, where he's coming down to see like who will enter and who won't enter. So maybe literally it's not saying that the door of the tent is sitting, but it is odd that it's not just clarifying that Abram is sitting. And I know it's kind of common in Hebrew where they don't always specify who the he is, but sometimes I think that may be because there is a deeper meaning And so we know that Messiah calls himself the door. And so, like, the tent is our earthly bodies. That's what the New Testament clarifies for us. So, before his eyes are lifted up to look and see these three men, Hashem appears or is seen to him. So, there could be this aspect inside Abram where he's this old man, but also he's now this youth. The youth talking about Messiah. So just like the New Testament talks about how Levi is giving or receiving this tenth of all or a portion of all from Melchizedek because he's in the loins of Abraham. So also this priest from Melchizedek, you could say, is in the loins of Abraham, the youth. So also in this heat of the day, some Jews may think that this is a vision that he is experiencing because no one has seen God. So he must be seeing this vision. At the point of the flesh being cut off, the exalted Father is no longer exists. There is now a new person, the Father of many nations. So Hashem is seen of this Father of many nations. But where Abraham is probably sitting, what is being seen is he's not seeing at this point the three men, right? So who is sitting? Hashem appears to Abraham, and this youth, this Messiah is sitting in the door of the tent like the heat of the day. And that is the same as like the Father also appearing, because to see the Son is to see the Father. So then from like this vision, right, this being able to see, he lifts up the eyes of him and he sees, and behold, there's three men. Not star, they're standing, they're established upon him. They've come upon him, perhaps on the journey, and they're passing through, just like the time of passing through Egypt to judge between the living and the dead, the firstborn. And he saw, and he ran to encounter them from the door of the tent, from this place of having just seen Yud Hey, Wow Hey, and perhaps this connection to Messiah sitting as judge. And he prostrates himself towards the direction of the ground. And he says, Lords of me, if please I have found grace in eyes of you, not please pass through. So there's a different word for the pass over, peshach, coming from that. This is to pass through, which ties in with the verse in Exodus. This is the word pass through, which just appeared in this verse, versus where he's going to Pesach, pass upon when he sees the blood. So first he was just passing through. From upon servant of you. And let be fetched, please, little water, and be washed feet of you. Just like what happened at the Passover meal where Messiah is washing the feet. So Abram, it's like he's possessed, like the youth is in him, even though his body is an old man. He's like acting and speaking like Hashem speaking through him. It may seem like there may not be a physical sight or voice that is Hashem speaking. And be rested under can also mean in the place of the tree. And this is significant because it could be like a play on words. This is Nate's, but can also, it sounds a lot like time is just spelled a little differently, which will appear later. And I will, and it's like let me, it's cohortative, let me take a piece of bread. So he's not saying 3 measures of flour. He's just saying what you're going to get is a piece of bread. Remembering that for first fruits, there's just one piece that is offered, and you can't offer anything leavened for the first 7 days. That needs to continue to rise. And then the 2 leavened pieces are presented. And you be comforted, heart of you. The you is plural, the heart is singular. After you pass through, since upon yes, or thus you're passing through upon servant of you. And he said thus, they said, like, yes, do this as you have said. And so he hastens Avraham towards the direction of the tent. And it's possible that Sarah has her own tent. To Sarah. And he says, you hasten, intensely hasten. 3 measures of meal, fine, and you need, and you do cakes. Now this is interesting because we're not going to hear about any of them eating this, or that she, like when the calf is hastened, it says that the youth hastens it and prepares it, and then it says that they eat it. But we don't hear about this. We don't even hear that she hastens to do anything. And to the herd, he ran. Who ran? Avraham. And he took son of a calf, tender and good, and he gave to the youth. So who is this youth? The youth can represent Messiah. And so if this is like what is inside Abram, it could be Abram that is like this youth inside him that is preparing this calf. Because an alternative, because it's a specific young man, could be Ishmael. But this calf is supposed to represent the person offering it. So if it's Ishmael offering it, and this is all about Sarah having a son, or if it's a sin offering on behalf of Sodom and Gomorrah, It could be a peace offering or a sin offering because they're eating it. Abraham could be perceiving that like this is symbolic of Hashem. You could even be seeing Messiah in all of this. That this is representing like a spotless, that's worthy of sacrifice, a good young calf. So he gives this to the youth, and then it says that Abram does this in the next verse. And so he hastens to dress it. And he took cheese or butter and milk and the son of the calf which he had dressed, which he had done. So, same word here. So who is this he? You would assume that this he is Abram, whoever is the he, or you could say it was the youth, but he's not commanded to take this butter and milk. So our first assumption is probably, when you're just reading this verse, that Abram took this. And you could also say that, well, Abram did this, but he didn't actually, because he commanded the youth to do this, so it was like Abram doing it. But there is this indication that, Sarah, maybe she didn't do what he said, and Abram is the one also that is preparing this calf. But it's not really Abram, it's the youth that is this, instead of Abram, this old man preparing the calf, it is this youth that he's passing off to. This is what's this little seed of faith that's becoming an entire tree inside of him. And he gave to the presence of them, and he stood upon them underneath in the place of the tree. So it's like Abram is this tree that's standing over them or upon them, representing like this tree of life that is within him now. And they ate. And they said to him, "Where is Sarah, the woman of you?" And he said, "Behold, in the tent." So this was not a time for her to be presented, to be seen, to be heard. She is just in the tent. And he said, so this is different. This is the men talking, and this is Hashem talking. This could be something that is not audible, that at the moment that they ask, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" that within Abraham, he's a tabernacle where God dwells, where Hashem's presence lives. And he says, "To return, I will return." That means certainly. "To you, like time of life," but it also sounds a little bit like tree of life. Now, tree of life is lives, plural, but we're just talking about one life here. So one tree here specifically. So this it sounds Nath, sounds a lot like Nath. Nates. It's just the last letter it's like a t sound for both, but the T is a little bit different. So it's like the tree of lives, could be a more spiritual meaning, like a wordplay, but it's like the time of life. And it could just mean like after the full period, when the son is born. Some people don't know like when the soul actually enters the body, and maybe it's optional, because I think last chapter it says about this time next year I will appear to you and Sarah will have a son. And then it's only 1 year later, because then he's 100, I think. I look back in the previous chapter. "My covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you to the appointed time." So this word for appointed time will appear in the next couple of verses. the this in this time next year. That's the appointed time. So let's keep reading. Bear a son to Sarah, the wife of you. And Sarah, she heard, can also mean that she obeyed. And Sarah obeyed. She heard with the intent to obey. What did she hear? She heard the door of the tent. And she heard him, word for him, behind him. So if Hashem is the one speaking, she's hearing this through the door of the tent. She's hearing the door of the tent. And she's hearing Hashem speaking through the door of the tent. And she is obedient. And Avraham and Sarah, they're old. It's gone in days. Gone in days. And ceased to exist to Sarah after the path, like the woman. So it's like she's not even on the path. It seems hopeless. And yet she's like within her is going to also be this tree of life. And she Isaaced. So in the last chapter, Abraham Isaaced. That's like maybe like that leaven that's rising up inside of you after the flesh is out of the way. And Abraham, maybe he told her, hey, your name is now Sarah. But maybe he never told her if this was over the course of 3 days. He's busy circumcising the house. Maybe he's still pondering on these things. He's keeping it hidden in himself. And so God has to, seems like his main point is to go to Sodom and Gomorrah. But he has this important visitation. Why did he come to Abram's house? To have a piece of bread. That's why he came. That's what it says up here. This is why you came upon here, was to have a piece of bread, since this is why you're passing through. Okay? So the bread can represent like the body of Messiah that they're coming after. It also can just represent the flesh. So like Sarah, Abram, also like with Joseph, the only thing that was withheld was the bread of the house, meaning it could mean like the wife. So like intercourse as well, with Abraham and Sarah, they're coming here for this seed. This is why they are passing through. So you have these aspects of like the death angel with judgment, but instead of just passing through and killing everything, there's also not allowing the death angel where he sees the blood. But after the flesh being completely dried up, in the midst of her, she Isaacs. This is the pleasure that is bubbling up inside of her. Her also being this tree of life, this youth inside of her. And Hashem says to Abraham, why is this that she Isaacs? Because nothing is too hard for Hashem. To this appointed time, he's going to return to you, and this tree of life, the time of life, and to Sarah a son. But she denies this because of her fear, and this could still be the time where you got to like get rid of those things like fear. And she says, no, I didn't Isaac, but she knows that Isaac is inside of her. So that is the concept of she hid the leaven.